21 GOP senators are telling colleagues to oppose the same-sex marriage bill unless it allows discrimination.
Yeah, this is when they basically come out and say, yeah, we want the ability to, respect everybody's freedom except for those people that we don't agree with. They're coming out and saying that. This bill would, we're talking about the Respect for Marriage Act that is, really beginning to see some momentum forward. We've seen a number of Republicans sign on that they're going to sign, vote for this. We even see the Church of Latter-day Saints coming out in support of this act. So it's beginning to see some really nice momentum. But this group of senators has come out, and they're coming out to these individuals and saying that we want to make sure that federal bureaucrats, funny that this was written by a Republican senator from Utah, ensure that federal bureaucrats do not take discriminatory actions against individuals, organizations, nonprofits, and other entities based on their sincerely held religious beliefs or moral convictions about marriage, or prohibiting the denial or revocation of tax-exempt status, licenses, contracts, and benefits. Now, here's the thing. The amendment to the act included all of that language. So essentially, you have a group of individuals who are wanting to talk about what the bill already covers, but they don't believe, essentially, they don't believe one another. They don't believe their own horse shit. So essentially, it's like, look, we know that this is how bills get passed in the law, but we also know that it's a fucking joke. It's a 3-card Monty act. Where's the queen? So they all want to protect religious liberty, and they want to protect conscience protection so that somebody can discriminate against another person in many different fields, and including medical fields. They are wanting to, essentially protect the discrimination that doctors can commit in whether or not they will treat a patient. They want to protect the discrimination of a school saying that they can refuse to treat a minor student equally. They want to protect those discrimination rights that they believe that they have.
Yeah, and it's something that we've been saying here on the show a lot, this year, that they're trying to fight for their right to discriminate, and it's just so interesting when they start to actually say these things out loud. And it's funny how little effect it has on the popularity. The kind of tie-in with what's going on here in our last article, the one in Russia, about how they're trying to ban visual acts of being part of the LGBT. That's what they're trying to do here as well. And it may seem like it's not related. It may seem like it's more subtle, but if you put all the pieces together, it's the same thing that's happening. And it's interesting and frightening when they say these things out loud and make it so obvious, and yet it doesn't seem to sway the public opinion on those things.
Right. And the interesting transition that we have seen over the last decade, and a little bit more, but mostly over the last decade, has been the total embracing of, the behavior that Russia and Vladimir Putin has been displaying by the conservatives in this country. When 20 years ago, conservatives were like, hey, yeah, the Cold War is over. How do we get that thing started again? How do we get Russia back in the crosshairs? And now they are looking so much alike that it's really hard to tell, where does Russia end and the conservative parties of the United States begin? Mm-hmm. And it's getting tough to separate those two. And again, I'll say this again. If you start looking like Russia, if you start looking like the Proud Boys, if you start looking like the Westboro Baptist Church, you really need to consider your life choices.